handle these insane situations people call about. And I'm glad they called. Now, look at this guy. Now you know this river. This is the Deschutes at the falls. This is the Deschutes. As best I can capture this photograph, the river is running at about 7,000 cubic feet per second. Now look at that. That's a really serious river. And they've got it taped off. People are standing back. I'm glad they're standing back. But here's the quiz. At this rate, how many days of that flow will it take to give us all of the water we use in Thurston County for human use? Any guesses? How many days? It's a hint, but I'm giving you the days as the time scale. Okay, come on, somebody's got to guess. 250 days, all right. 250 days is 7,000 CFS. Any other guesses?
70.
70 days? Last guess?
23.
23? 2? All right. 7? Okay. All right. Ready? Ta-da! 5.8 days.
Wow.
All right. So that means either we're using not much water or less water than we thought, okay, or this is a really big river at that point. Maybe both. Now let's see if I can get this movie to play. So there comes a time in every person's life when they're collecting data in my profession when they have to do something which is really scary. And let's take a look at that. All right, so, all right, here we go. I don't think there's any audio with this, but you'll get the idea. This is an acoustic Doppler channel profiler. It shoots a 600,000 hertz sonic beam out. It floats. Now watch the river grab this sucker. We thought we were going to lose it. Now this is double half-inch nylon, which stretches quite a bit. It's pinging like crazy right now, and it's got a GPS device on top trying to track it. So we're going to try to, we're dragging this thing across the creek, and it is going back and forth, sweeping the creek. The creek is only 60 feet wide. But I tell you what, someday, no, don't do this. Let me just tell you what happens. Please don't do this. If you stand in 3 foot deep water moving at 5 feet per second, it's like getting hit with a brick wall. I mean, I weigh 235 pounds and I can barely stand up with everything I've got trying to balance. Nuts. But this provides an unbelievable data point because all of a sudden you can calibrate to flood stage. Okay? So I'm really enthusiastic about flood stage because that's when I can calibrate to a lot of things. So this is the output from the acoustic Doppler device. It actually gives you a ray trace and a horizontal profile when it's shooting upstream. It's kind of cool. It's a massive processor and the post-processing is fabulous. But nonetheless, it gives you a little block diagram of flow and velocity. It doesn't measure the edges very well, so you've got to compensate for these edge things. But at that moment in that river, the river was flowing at about 700 CFS, 1/10 as much as the Deschutes River was in the still frame before. Now, that was the Black River at 128th Street in Little Rock. Yeah. So we had to build a database to hold it all because we're getting mountains and mountains of new data. That's one of the great accomplishments of the scientific age is you've got lots and lots of data, but what do you do with it? And in fact, for your students, the students in here particularly, get good at using databases. Get good at using GIS. Get good at using spatial systems that integrate database with spatial data. It's going to be a part of your future. We're just ingesting too much data not to have that in your tool belt. All right, and a website. This was built by Nat Kale. Fabulous little website. I can give you the link to this. My cards are up here too if you want to follow up. It's kind of hard to see. This is designed to provide some context so you can go to one of our gauging spots and see the current water year superimposed on grayscale other water years. So, March, every natural spring is flowing. Oh my gosh, everything is flowing hard. It's full, it's beautiful, it's great. And if I take a dot and put one at every spring I know about, it's this set of green dots. Notice there are lots and lots feeding the Deschutes River. There, for example, some cool things. There is a spring, let me see if I can find it, right here. The Deschutes River gains something like 10 cubic feet per second at that spring, between Route 507 and Military Road in here, I think it is. Fantastic, giant spring. Here's Silver Spring. There are a series of springs just north of Offit Lake. There's one spring that if you get down in the sharp bend in the river and there's a wall above you, maybe 70 feet high, a very steep till, and you go down and you stand in the river and you look in there, and I swear to gosh, it just goes dark. Because you're looking into something so deep that I can't find the bottom of it. It's just rushing out, it's filling the river. The point being that the Deschutes River does not gain evenly. It gains in enormous rushes at particular points, so that the concept of even stream flow gain is mostly an academic one. In this area, it all fills up in a hurry. So if you know why water's coming in, you might also wonder, could water go out of the stream at the same place the spring flows in? It may. Rivers may actually lose at certain springs at certain times of year. Now, where's the artesian well question? Who had the artesian well question? There, yeah, okay. Okay, so Donna in the back was kind enough to share with me the locations of artesian wells. Donna, what was it, like over 100 downtown?
Oh, there's 90 that are mapped.
That are mapped? And it's a very large number. So, what is it that makes an artesian spring? This is cool. This is cool. Now, can everybody see this board? Can you see this board at all?
No.
Okay. All right. How do I show this board? I need lights. Somebody give me lights. Oh, Greg, can we get lights for just a second? I want to draw this because this is fascinating. Everybody wants to know about artesians. It's such a cool subject. Can everybody see this board right here?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you raise the screen for a second? You see it? Okay. We'll do it on the board. Now. Here's what we got to deal with. We've got the highlands here to the south. Okay, here's south. Here's the highland. Comes down. Boom, drops into Puget Sound like that. This is a generalized conceptual model. So we've got this glacial till. Beautiful stuff. Okay, beautiful stuff. And what it does is something rather remarkable. And it dies out about in here. And let's draw it like that. Okay, fill it in. So remember, the till is pretty tight. It leaks a little bit, but it's hard to get through it. So you say, wait a minute, what is an artesian well? In this case, an artesian well means that the water level up here that's close to ground surface, and I'll draw a horizontal line with a triangle above it, the universal symbol for water level, that surface is actually above ground. The pressure surface of groundwater is above the actual physical surface of the land. You say, so how is that possible? That sounds counterintuitive. How can you have water above ground? Well, what you can have is a pressure surface. Now the pressure surface is the static level of a well if you drilled it and raised the pipe up 50 feet in the air. But if you drill a well and its pressure surface is above ground, boom, you get a flowing artesian well. So the driving head of these highlands up here, pushing water down, gets below the till and it can't get out. And the pressure builds and it builds and it builds and it's got the entire highlands pushing it down and there's no way out because it's trapped below that till. So by the time it comes to a well screen down in the well where we get our water for our family, it hits that open pipe probably, or screen, but I think it's an open pipe, and boom, out it pops.
What's the definition of a till?
Oh, okay. A till is a very poorly sorted glacial material. Generally, it's been compacted. In our area, we have to distinguish continental glacial till from alpine glacial till. Now, continental glacial till has had a mile of ice sit on it, and it's really been crushed down and compacted very strongly. It's not impermeable. So there's a nuance there to hydrogeology. People say, well, it's an aquaclude. It's like a steel plate. No, it's not a steel plate. It leaks. There are holes in it. In fact, there are plenty of holes in it. In fact, some of the holes are very important. because they allow vertical movement of recharge through the till at some spots, particularly where rivers cut down through. But that is the story of the artesians, and it continues all the way up the valley, giving us the source of Olympia beer water. So their wells, I believe, are still flowing artesian, mostly in that part of the valley. Pretty wonderful stuff. All right, so now we are, where did I say we were? Where are we in the water year here? March. Okay, everything's flowing hard. We're in the middle of our water year, we're right in here. Everything's fabulous, thank you. Okay, now, June, the rains begin to taper off. As the rain slows, the creeks still have water in them. Why?
Groundwater.
Groundwater, yes. Yes, it is groundwater. All right, now, there is a new technology, well, new in my life, LiDAR. It's fantastic. It's used as essentially, think of a laser scanner to scan the Earth's surface. You can't see it on this screen, I apologize for that, but it has revolutionized hydrology and hydrogeology by giving a tremendous detail to our knowledge of the Earth's surface.
Explain over time what it is exactly.
Think of a scanner at a store. The scanner at a store is shooting a myriad of laser beams, and it's looking at the reflection. It's probably looking at the Doppler shift of the bounce coming back, and it's shooting millions of times in a very short amount of time and recording many, if not all, of those bursts as a return signal.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
through the image.
Basically it is.
Aircraft sensors.
Sorry, yes. They use a very high precision GPS system and a specialized aircraft to carry these things. But they're so small and cheap, you can almost put them on a drone now. And there are small drone-based systems that are pretty exciting from my end.
The key to autonomous cars also.
Oh, you know, I just foresee this time when you walk down the street, and I've been imaged, it'll read my face, and it'll pop up an ad in front of me, something out of Back to the Future, you know. I don't know if you can see this. I threw up this slide because the county's LiDAR is from 2011, and this is the Chehalis River down here. This is the county line. This is moving out of the county. Here's where our LiDAR stopped, and the USGS's default raster elevation begins. And all of the stream definition that you can see just ends right there. I don't know if you can see it. If you can, it's pretty cool. I can show it to you in a higher def output. So, what's this? These are my LiDAR streams. Because miraculously, the LiDAR can also detect water. Now, that is incredibly influential for me, because at that moment, I've got elevation and the presence of liquid detected by a remote sensing technology for a moment in time. So that's sort of a holy grail for me, because it's very difficult to know exactly where there was open water. Really difficult to know that. So when you plot places where people have gone out and collected gauge data along this network of known wet streams, and these gauges go back decades in some cases, it is hundreds of spots. So let me stop for a second. About a year and a half ago, the Washington State Supreme Court released a decision, and the decision was known as the Hearst case. Now, the Hearst case dealt with this issue of water availability and the proliferation of permit-exempt wells. So we said as a county, we better do some due diligence here to find out what the status is of our water supplies and our water availability. There was sort of a vacuum in law about what our responsibility was. We started collecting data. We found more and more and more and more data. There was so much data that we've now got a pretty good database set up to manage it and to track what we found. We can now look at dry season, drying out streams. We can look at gaining and losing reaches that I'll show you in a minute. We can look at a whole host of things that we didn't even realize. Our county can't monitor this many locations. But if you put together everybody's information, you've got a big repository of new data to chew on. That's good. So now we're looking at this part of the curve. Okay. By June of the water year, the stream flows begin to decline and come close to my red line here, my minimum mean stream flow. I'm looking hard at that going, okay, now this is only one gauge. There's only one gauge. We don't have these statutorily defined at all locations, but it's one of these places where you begin to say, okay, let's keep an eye on that. Now by August, the rains have basically stopped. Around August, sometimes July, but usually from August to September, sometimes October. For the last 30 years, hydrogeologists have gone out and they've measured flows within hours of each other in the same creek. And they find that the creek's flow is not the same, even in a short distance. Now, why would the creek have less flow downstream than upstream? Think about that. That's kind of a strange circumstance. The creek has less water over a certain reach. Now, these are usually referred to as reaches. A reach is an arbitrary length of stream. So, the green color coding you see here, any place you see a green, what have I done with my marker? There it is. Any place you see a green, this stream is gaining. So this is the Nisqually River, and it's gaining water like crazy, going down the valley. Now, Nisqually is a little bit different because it's regulated by a dam up here, by discharge from a dam. Alder Dam is the lowest one here, I believe. So, but not all streams are like that. Look at the red patches. Look at the red patches, the red patches, the red patches. These are places where, at that moment in time, those researchers found that that particular reach of stream was losing water. Yellow is a little harder to see, but yellow means essentially neutral. I gave it plus or minus 2 cubic feet per second as the resolution of the instruments. Because you can't really measure it. This is always a problem in science. The resolution of the instruments matters. So I'm saying, these guys are really out there. They can't tell if it's less than 2 CFS plus